What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we will be working on the 240SX, my S13. In the last video I just introduced you guys to it, told you a little bit about it. That's not everything about it. I mean, there are some things I didn't talk about, like other suspension work mostly. The car does have a lot of suspension work, but as you guys know, as the years go by, this car is very old. It's a 1991 and it's 30 plus years old now, so I do need to address some just, I guess if you want to call it basic maintenance, it's probably not basic maintenance though, because we are going to be starting to tear apart this rear subframe. As I mentioned in the last video, I did do the front bushings, and I did do new lower ball joints, so that stuff's good to go. The only thing I really want to probably touch later on is the front sway bar bushings, but I do have stock front and rear sway bars on this car, so I may actually upgrade to a different set of sway bars depending on, you know, what I want the car to do or how I want it to feel. As of now though, I'm just going to leave the sway bars alone. I need to get into pretty much the rear end of this car, because I did mention I do have a VLSD I want to install, and new bushings and subframe bushings and all that kind of stuff. I still haven't decided what subframe bushings to go with. I mean, you guys feel free to leave a comment below on what you're using in your S chassis, but I know most people are probably just like, I'll just go solid mounts, bro. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that, because I just don't like the harshness. I don't like the vibrations. I still drive this car every day on the street. More than likely going to go polyurethane. I wish there was something slightly stiffer than the stock rubber, but I don't think that there is. I think White Line makes some kind of reinforced ones, and I love White Line suspension company, so I may be looking into those. But nonetheless, this is a lot of work to pull the subframe out of this car, so without much talking, let's just get it up in the air and see what we're working with. Man, so like I said, I haven't even touched this rear end at all. I did just spray some penetrating oil on this nut and just on this here, but like I said, I do have Z32 brakes front and rear. I have done at least the brake pads and the rotors. Those I put on maybe a couple years ago, and I don't drive the car much, so they're still in good condition. But I am running, like I said earlier, JIC Magic FLTA2 coilovers. They don't make these anymore. These were a very, very nice setup back in the day. I'm running Orange Tree Racing upper control arms. I don't even think that company exists anymore. I just have stock traction arms, and I'm running JIC Magic rear adjustable, these toe arms here. So, but mainly trying to get this subframe off. It is only held on by 4 bolts, but you do have to do a lot of other things. Got to take off the brake calipers, and I'm going to leave the brake calipers with the car. But mainly you just got to take off the brake calipers, take off the lower shock mounting bolts, disconnect the drive shaft, make sure that your e-brake cables are, I think you have to take them off or at least loosen them up out here. Obviously, this having a 5 lug, I'm using like some, I think I'm using Z32 2+2 e-brake cables. I'm not sure, but yeah, I got to take off the exhaust as well. So none of this stuff has been off this car. It's literally been on here since 2005. So fortunately, I don't live in an area where it gets really rusty, but I do dread it a little bit. But I don't know if you can see back there, my drive shaft right there has been rubbing on my exhaust, because like I said, this whole rear end just moves. It moves so much. My engine mounts are bad, my transmission mounts are bad. I mean, look at this. I just even noticed that my damn exhaust hanger just snapped right off the exhaust, so I'm gonna have to get that fixed. But yeah, it's a lot of work, guys, but let's just get after it. Man, it's crazy. I literally haven't had this exhaust off of this car since 2005. Looks like there's a little exhaust leak right there, but I don't know. It's held up for a very long time, except for this weld right here broke. Let's see if someone can fix that for me. But yeah, just gonna tuck this away, get back at it. Under the car now, about to take the e-brake cables off. You could just undo them from the little clevis that's up here. Well, it's not really a clevis, but this cable should be able to kind of move around. If you kind of twist the whole cable to where the cable is coming out. Sorry. If you twist the cable to where it's coming out, like on the right side of here, the whole thing will just slip out of that little holder there. So obviously when you go 5-lug, I mean, I'm not telling anybody anything new, but you usually have to run Z32 e-brake cables because that's just how they're going to work. You can see I got these little homemade pieces of flat aluminum under here. I just drilled a hole over here and drilled this in to hold it in place. Same on the other side, but my other side moves around a lot. That's why it rubs on my drive shaft. If I can show you the other side, you can see this other one has moved over a lot. So when I accelerate, sometimes it does rub on this, but I don't know. I'm gonna try my best to kind of like, I usually have to loosen this thing up and move it over. See, I could just move the whole thing over by hand and it's out of the way, but whenever I use the e-brake, it tends to want to move that bracket. So either way, next thing I need to do is to get these e-brake cables out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those out. After that, you should be able to loosen up these 4 bolts for the drive shaft. I believe they're 14mm, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be on there pretty tight. So you might have to have someone either, well, you can't step on the brakes anymore, so it might actually make more sense to leave the e-brake cables connected for now. That way you can have, you know, you can rotate this around now, but you need to have the e-brake on to hold this in place when you're trying to loosen it up. So, yep. After that, I'll show you what you need to take off next. Alright, got the e-brake cables undone, drive shafts taken off. You can see it's just hanging there. Now probably the hardest part about doing this job is obviously this whole thing's going to come out as an assembly. Let me show you guys. Like, it's a whole giant subframe that's going to come out with you know, the half shaft, the CV axles, the diff, all the arms, everything. The only thing staying on the car is the drive shaft and the brake calipers and the coilovers or shocks or whatever you got there. So really the only thing left for me to do is to disconnect these lower bolts, this bolt on this coilover and the other bolt on the other coilover over there. And then I'll have to take off the subframe braces that are in the front, and then we're pretty much gonna lower this down. This is gonna be kind of challenging with one person, but I'm gonna try my best to do it because I really don't have anyone else here to help me out. But the only thing I fear is when you do lower this, you can see the brake calipers. I'm not gonna take them off. I mean, yeah, you could just disconnect them, but I really don't want to bleed them again. So I'm gonna have to guide these like through the arms as I lower it down and try to get that all sorted. But I'm gonna do my best. But next thing I'm gonna do, or that you should do, is to take off the lower bolts of the coilovers, and then I'll show you where the subframe braces are. Give you guys a closer look at these beauties. Like I said, I bought these in 2005, JIC Magic. The model is FLT A2. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, there's this guy named Dave Coleman who had, he was an editor for Sport Compact Car magazine, and they built a Sylvia pretty much like this, and I'm pretty much just trying to mimic their build. That thing was very fast and it handled really well. So yep, these things have been on here for that long. I probably put maybe not a lot of miles on them because the car kind of mostly just sits around, but they're still holding up. They're not leaking. You can see everything is dry, so definitely a good investment. All right, got those subframe braces off, so should be ready to lower this thing now. I'm gonna try and use this jack to help me guide this thing down. This thing is gonna be very heavy, obviously, but there are 4 subframe mounts. This one right here in the back, obviously the other one on the opposite side, and then the 2 bolts that are in the front where you just took off the subframe braces. So all of this should lower down as a unit. Just be careful to make sure with the brake calipers that they don't get caught up. Again, doing this with 2 people is definitely better than doing it by myself. But I did stick the caliper like back in here instead of hanging on the side over there, so I'm hoping that'll help me be able to maneuver them out of there just by myself. So I'm gonna try my best. Probably gonna drop something, but we'll see how it goes. Actually went a lot smoother than I thought, but there it is, guys. Got the subframe completely out. Everything came out pretty much as easy as I thought. I am a little concerned about this subframe bushing right here though. It's all torn on the bottom. I know you can't really see it from here, but down through there you can see the little frayed ends of the rubber, and there is actually some rust and water getting down into this particular post. So I can't really show you it right now, but I'll zoom in on that one. You can see it's got some rust on it, and it does look to be, I don't know if it's just my eyes or if it's slightly bent. I can't really tell. The other one over there you can see though is perfectly white because all the paint's still on it. This one though, not so happy. So I don't know, maybe it's all those 9,000 RPM clutch kicks. Everything else looks pretty good. The other posts look in good shape. So I'm gonna try and get this thing back up on jack stands back here with this limited space I have in my garage. I mean, I don't want to use this whole space over here. I'm gonna try and just put this on jack stands right here behind the car, and then that way we can just get a closer look at things. Got the subframe up on these jack stands. Should be strong enough, I hope. I mean, it doesn't really move around too much. It moves around a little bit, but get a closer look at these things. As you can see, 280,000 miles, and I don't know how old these are, but you can, I mean, they're still in pretty good shape. They're not too bad. Now, that subframe bushing down there is kind of it's a little stressed out in those areas, but I'm going to replace them anyway because obviously that's why I took this all apart. But I'm going to refresh all of these bushings. I'm going to install the Z32 VLSD in the back. I'll show you guys how to do that. And then, yeah, just maybe, I don't know if I'm going to go as far as painting this thing and doing all that. I don't think it's that serious. It's just going to get dirty anyway. But I probably am going to have to address that one stud in there. I might sand that down and paint that just so I know that it's good. I am going to do the rear wheel bearings. I don't need to do the brakes. The brakes are good. You can see those rotors are good, and I don't know if you can see the pads in here, maybe. I don't know. That's one of the pads right there on the left side. It's pretty thick still. So I'm not even going to worry about that, but I'm just going to refresh everything. There are some things that you need to change when you do go to the Z32 diff, so I'll get into all that probably in a different video. I mainly just wanted to get the subframe out, kind of just show you guys how to do it. It's a pretty easy job. Obviously you can do it with one person. That's all I am here, and as long as you take your time, you should be all right. But honestly guys, I'm super surprised at how well this is still together. I mean, these are the factory Nissan CV axles, the factory subframe bushes, albeit that one right there is probably done. This is the factory Nissan diff. It's not leaking any oil from the front at all. It is, leaking some from the drain plug, but that's it. The boots aren't torn on these. I mean, the wheel bearings are done. The factory subframe bushings sway bar bushings. They're worn, but I mean, none of this stuff is cracked. It just goes to show you how well these cars are put together. And man, I'll tell you, I have abused this car plenty, and it still keeps going. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope that this helps you guys out. At least you guys with those S chassis. Like I said, nothing here I'm doing is groundbreaking. This has all been done. It's very well documented, but I appreciate that you guys are still here watching me on this video, watching the channel, supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm really excited to get this thing back together, maybe get it out to some autocross events or some, like high performance driving days or some form of road racing, because that would be what I would like to do, and to start getting back into that. I've been out of it for a long time now, but so far, yeah, got that out. It's doing good. We'll just have to see, what type of subframe bushings I'm going to go with. As I mentioned already, I already have all the other bushings, so I really should be pretty good to go. But I appreciate you guys watching the video. As always, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button on your way out, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.